people are subconsciously thinking that they don't want their children to have kids because they know their DNA isn't good enough to be in the coming centuries. And so they fill their veins full of poison, and they don't care about things like the bovarine tablets that have been force-fed to the animals that they eat at Woolworths and Coles. And they purposely live sedentary lifestyles, and they just keep their head in the sand because deep down they know they're not worthy, that they're weak, they're unexceptional, they're cowards, and that's not what the world needs in hundreds of years to come. And so they're taking one for the team. Because hundreds of years ago, and up until the 1960s, the majority of the Western world was encouraged to have families because they needed cannon fodder for the wars and to turn the cogs in the machines. Most of the world have built now, and now Southeast Asia, India and China are really rich on debt based on the banks from the countries of which you know who run it. So I think a lot of people subconsciously realize that their DNA is not worthy, and so they purposely live very, very poor lifestyles and don't bother to have any critical thinking to what they put into their children's bodies, because they know they're not worthy for future generations to exist. And that is quite sad, but it's just reality. People really overvalue their own life and their time in the world, but they forget people in the 1970s, they thought they were in the most significant time in history. And same as 1990s and the 1890s. All these people forgotten, all their dreams, all their efforts, meaningless. I mean, obviously it's good to be a good person, you know, pay your taxes, have kids, don't kill people, but at the end of the day, the majority of people are truly unexceptional. But it's not because they're born that way, it's because there's thousands of decisions they've made over decades, and their parents have made over decades, and their parents made, that have led them to that path. But all is not lost. There's always a chance to turn around. Even a 60-year-old man can just turn over a new leaf and start to live a life that is free from all the darkness, and they can heal, not to full extent but to majority, and they can be less parasitic and contribute more than they take. But it's an interesting theory is that a lot of people are subconsciously suicidal, or they're trying to purposely stunt their children's potential because they don't think that the world would be a better off place if they were to have children. So they encourage them into like radical, progressive, feminist ideology and like leftist activism, knowing that that will take away their chance of continuing their gene pool, even though their great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers went through ice ages and famines and holocausts to get to this point where they will be died off simply because of pornography addiction, or because they have too much Coke Zero, and they get passive-aggressive about when someone's confronting them on the alcohol they consume on a regular basis and the amount, even just the poor quality. They're hyper-defensive about the foods they eat. They're not willing to have an amicable, calm conversation. They get an emotional attachment to their vices that are poisoning them and preventing their genes from continuing on.